Hello. So, the next one in this is going to be the Germans. So, basically what happens in this, with all the other nations, they pretty much play the same as their counterparts. Like, Russia will play roughly the same as China. Well, England and France are going to be the same country, obviously. So yeah, they will play roughly as they're expected. With the Germans and the US, basically they're split apart versions of Korea, where the Germans get the veteran status for their units if they get a certain amount of kills, or if, well, basically they rely on buildings for healing, they rely on better units, but everything's more expensive. Whereas with the US, they rely on all the special abilities that Korea had. So it kind of gets split in half. Now, I'm not very good at using them, but personally I think as far as game balance goes, Germany is probably the best one in this game. For a number of reasons. For one, their soldiers are quite a bit better than the other ones. Their regular soldiers are pretty much tougher versions once they hit World War II. The mortar infantry can use chemical rounds, which are like a much faster moving version of the trebuchet from the Middle Ages in this. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, they get airships. They're the only ones that get them for whatever reason. They just get blimps, and I personally found them very useful. Whenever playing online, nobody really expected me to use airships, because nobody used them for some reason. Everyone always spammed soldiers and everything, but you know, everyone's expecting like a sea landing or something, and there you suddenly show up in a friggin' blimp. So anyway, they're a little bit slow to start, but it's not bad, because their units can run around pretty fast. And their economy can get going pretty quickly because they don't actually have to pay for settlements, so they get more gold and whatnot. You can see here, settlements, no cost. So they're strictly average in World War I right now. Strictly average, nothing better, nothing worse, so what I'm gonna be doing is just getting an airfield up and expecting to just kind of rush for World War II here, because they really don't have anything that excels in World War I. Just like China in the Middle Ages, it's just they don't really get any of their actual potential until they get going. And actually I have to get some walls up here just to prevent them from constantly barging in here. Trying to take my land. Anyway, another thing they get here is these Nig machines here. They essentially show how they give you graphs for the military and whatnot, that how everyone else is doing, which is kind of neat. It's useful. It's basically the exact same thing as you can have on your stat counter in Rise of Nations. Now, what I mean by they rely on much better units is because whereas, just for comparison's sake, in this, whereas the US will get a battleship that can detect subs, the Germans instead get a sub that can pretty much do an insta-kill. Whereas the US soldiers get an ability to attack, the same as the martial arts ability that the Koreans have, to attack much quicker for a little while. They get an ability which well, their soldiers are just tougher to that extent. And I remember comparing them, and the German ones ended up winning because they just had a lot more health and attack to them. The US soldiers in this game are inexplicably flimsy. I'm not sure why. So yeah, for now, can only get this weird blocky looking tank that they have. Weird looking... I don't know. I always thought it looked like just a box on wheels. Wasn't sure anybody saw it did. Again, just average. I've seen somebody that managed to spam them once, but that doesn't happen too often. So even though they do get better units, they don't get very many upgrades for said units. Which is good, because a toughness upgrade for the Tiger tanks is just friggin' ridiculous. It would just be really, really unnecessary. How did you even... Yeah, I don't know what happened there. With World War II, though, since German stuff is very expensive in this, again, that's its main downside, they will usually need to get their wonder up fairly early. Okay. He apparently went all the way across the map. So their wonder actually generates infinite money. I wasn't aware that that the Brandenburg Gate was such a big deal that it generated infinite cash for anyone, but somebody thought so. Okay, horribly unfitting music in the background. One second. Okay, back. Pandora, you're disappointing. Anyway. So, moving on. Tend to give the speed thing to the Zeppelin here. What's weird is this thing can actually carry more units in it than the APC, transport truck there. Alright, another one of their unique units, by the way, they do get a dog. It's the equivalent of the Korean Falcon. Wasn't aware they used Falcons for scouting, but screw it. Right here, got physical education and TNT, improves HP of everything. They get just a few nice things here at the... I always want to call it a museum, but library. University, whatever.
Splendid. Jawohl. Jawohl.
Now these walls are strictly for keeping people the hell out. Unfortunately, unlike Empire Earth, they are absolutely useless for holding back any types of attacks. Now, their unique anti-tank, anti-air guns here can just switch between them, so you only need one kind. Definitely saves on production costs.
Come on. Where are we nicht? We're under attack.
Now am I under attack? Due to their free settlements here, it's often good to get a whole bunch of them up. A whole bunch of town centers up, rather. So here's just a thing of the ability I was talking about. Yeah, you can see it, but now that thing is completely effed up. It's actually the US ship here. I mean, the regular ability isn't that bad, but I mean, that's just ridiculous. And again, these can be repurposed whatever way you want them to be. Not to mention their attack is pretty good. I believe the other ones are around 30, these guys are much more. As far as the Deadly Cloud ability, has a pretty long range, and yeah, Poison Cloud.
U-boat standing by. Armed torpedoes. U-boat standing by.
They'll usually need more battleships and subs than troop boats, which is good, since you can transport everything by means of a blimp. And kind of like the Chinese, it makes more sense to build a siege factory on the other side and just sort of hold down the fort in order to get tanks. They don't do the whole tank landing thing very well, since they're, well, I guess you could say best tank. It takes up, I believe, either 3 or 4 spaces on a troop ship. That would be because it's absurdly powerful. Okay, so, sergeants. Give everybody a defense bonus. And, generally are just a support unit, but they do get an ability to insta-kill any tank. So they're a good defensive unit to have early on.
U-boat standing by. Armed torpedoes.
We're under attack. We're under attack.
Armed torpedoes. Armed torpedoes. Armed torpedoes. Armed torpedoes. Capitan, making way.
We're under attack.
U-boat standing by. Armed torpedoes. U-boat standing by.
To the shoals.
So there's that.
Capitan. Armed torpedoes.
There's the fish. To the shores.
Also, they have the same lines as the Chinese for some reason. Big Bertha artillery, just like the mortar units, except bigger.
Ja, General.
There's the fish. To the shoals.
Food production appears to be a problem, however.
Attack. Jawohl.
Yeah, you can kind of see how these guys might be a bit better. Just pull back. Now, something else that's nice